Mhm. Welcome to Meaningful Mornings. The other night, Shook and I were wrestling, and as we were wrestling, he had shared with me, "Get off me, bro. Get off me, bro." The other day, Vyasa and I were dribbling a soccer ball, and he was trying to get it away from me, and he did. So he looked at me and went like this. And I said, "Vyasa, what are you doing with your hand?" He goes, "Don't you know it's backwards L?" He doesn't even know what that means. He's like, "Backwards L." What I had shared with Shuka at the time and then Vyasa later is, I'm not your bro. I am not a backwards L. I'm your father. And I share this with everyone because three emotions towards relations that are required for one to feel divinity are, in order, respect, then love, then reverence. I'm playing on here that my kids are casually calling me their bro, backwards L. When we have respect towards our guide, map, divinity, we start to believe in the same. Whatever you don't respect, you don't believe in that. More evolved than this is love. Whatever you love, you have faith in. I read lots of commentaries on lots of maps, but I have found that Pujaswami Tejomayananda's commentaries are just different for me because I love him. So I have such faith in what is being communicated. And the evolution of this is reverence. When respect and love come together, that is reverence, where one trusts who you revere, what you revere. In Meaningful Mornings, I undoubtedly share from our maps, but I do try to share my own experiences so that we can evolve from respect to love to reverence. I know we respect our maps and self-development. Do you love these also? We've all come across practice makes perfect. But what makes practice? It is precision. Precision makes practice makes perfect. I remember when Darshana Auntie and Gorang Uncle's Balavihar curriculum books were released. How many of you have seen these by show of hands? From Chinmay Mission Houston. I saw in the eyes and the hearts of hundreds, thousands of Balavihar teachers how empowered they felt that there's a precise curriculum that they have to follow through with to be a Bolivar teacher, create a Bolivar experience. It is the precision that empowered others. And that's why, that was many years ago, now we fast forward to 2024, starting on June 30th, we commence our enhanced Seva training. To be precise about understanding kids and youth of 2024 so we can empower them to be confident. We are oriented towards doing because our notion of doership is established. It is strong. And this is the source of our struggle. Struggle with stress, anxiety, dejection. Just reflect on when you're sleeping or contemplating. You're not doing. And that's why you feel no dejection, no anxiety, no stress. These precise insights to help us to practice will take us from doing to being. Shri Krishna has shared, do yajna, tapa, dana. These are the right actions. More precisely, do yajna, tapa, dana with sattva, with quietness. That is the right attitude. Sattva, we've always studied this as quietude. Here, Shri Krishna shares, sattva is that which is uniting. Humans to humans, humans to animals, plants, stones. I had a meeting with our Safety of Society team. And they were asking me, why is it that the Prithvi Seva movement has grown immensely, but our Safety of Society movement has not grown as immensely? And I shared with them, because our community, they're more affected by the environment than by violence. More. I'm not saying exceptionally, but more. I highlight this for us. You may not experience violence, but it does exist. This is happening in a myriad of ways to a myriad of people. If you're really doing with sattva, you will work, you will live in such a way to help those even if you don't experience it. Is my challenge clear to everyone? Just because it doesn't affect you doesn't mean that it's not happening. Yes. In contrast, Raja is dividing. Sattva is uniting. Raja is dividing. Raja is where you divide yourself from other beings. I'm particularly sharing that because today, as we go into Tama, it is dividing all beings. Raja, self-harm. Tama, harming others. Do you see the difference in terms of doing? Zooming into this, dividing oneself. This happens when we invest a lot in changing our nama and rupa and feeling that is enough. If you invest in changing your nama and rupa and feel that's enough, then you won't change your guna, which means you can never feel your dhamma. I'll switch it over to English. Those who live by Raja, they change their context and they don't have enough to change their content. They are escapists, not embracists. I'd shared this in our Narada Bhakti Sutra course last night. It was one of my final thoughts. That it's hard for me to see the change in direction of Chinmaya Mission's Vedanta course. That if you're married, you can't go to the course, you can't be a teacher. If you're older, you can't go to the course, you can't be a teacher. It doesn't make sense to me when Sri Krishna is sharing here. Rishi Narada also shares. Those who are engaged in self-development, it doesn't matter what their jati is, their kula is, their vidya is, their dhana is. Their names and forms are irrelevant. There's a great thinker in our culture. His name is Chokamela, Santa Chokamela. And he gave this beautiful example of how a sugar cane. How many of you have seen a sugar cane or raw sugar cane before? How many of you have eaten this before? It's a great Indian experience, yes? He was sharing that a sugar cane sometimes is bent, sometimes is crooked, sometimes is rough, but what's inside? That sweetness. What difference does the outside make when self-development is about what's inside? I'm zooming into the difference between what you are living for. We'd like to say uniting, but are you? We tend to fall into dividing ourselves. The way to come out of dividing and come into uniting is to admit if you're confused. If you admit this, you will start to associate with those who are disciplined. Confusion leads to comparison and competition, more dividing. But if I admit, I don't know what to do, I don't know what my purpose is, I will associate with the discipline, in which case humility and inspiration will follow. One more insight. The next, which is on Tamasic, you already know where this flow is going. As we celebrate Navaratri, which we are right now. For the one who is Rajasic, they're aggressive, who are they encouraged to worship or to follow? Bhagavati Lakshmi. She is the icon of virtues. Patience, generosity, compassion. Do you think these divide or unite? We continue into verse 22. Yattu kritsna vade kasmin karye saktama hetukam atatvarta badalpam cha tattamasamudahratam. Joy. Please remember the genesis of how we got to this verse. From how act to why act. The why in this case is jnana. What are you living for? Sattva unites, Raja divides yourself, Tama divides yourself and others. I'm reading the translation. But that knowledge, which clings to one single effect, as if it were the whole, without reasons, without foundation in truth, and narrow, that is declared to be tamasic, dull. We have used the term, it is filled with laziness. I'm bringing out 3 signs. These are tests for ourselves, if this is what we're living for. What is shared here? They are ekasmin. Ekasmin means they feel their idea is the right idea. Their narrative is the right narrative. Putting that into a form of alliteration, they are uninquiring. They feel they're right. Everything they think and say and do is right. They're uninquiring. If they do that, they fall into ahetuka. Ahetuka means they're unreasonable. Unreasonable. They don't follow rationale, logic. Have you all interacted with unreasonable people? Can you really interact with them? Can you really grow with them? In a light sense, you've heard me share this before. When I shared with my mother, you left India to come to Canada for happiness. Why can't I leave Canada to go to India for happiness? She shared, that's different. Ahetuka. She's being unreasonable. Eventually, I got to go to India for happiness. And one more key word here is alpam. Alpam means small, small-hearted. Because they don't inquire, they're irrational. Since they're irrational, everything they do is small. Here, they are uncaring. Small-hearted people don't care for themselves, and so they don't care for others. Everyone followed this? The one who's uninquiring? Because they're too lazy. They're unreasonable. They're uncaring. How to come out of this? Intellectually, it is to be empathetic. Well, what precedes that is mentally to be enthusiastic. But what precedes that? Physically to be energetic. That's what I'm zooming into right now. If you're the one who's uninquiring, which is causing you to be unreasonable, which is causing you to be uncaring, develop the energy so that you can be more enthusiastic and more empathetic than you do inquire. What comes with that? You become reasonable, you become caring. So now my next and final point is, how do you become energetic? There's Red Bull. That's how you can be energetic. There's lemon cake. You can shift from sleeping 5 hours to 10 hours. I have found the most energetic, inducing environment is nature. Be in nature. You feel cared for in nature. The sun is caring for you. The solar eclipse is caring for you too. When you feel cared for, you do feel more energetic, correct? When you're feeling depleted and someone asks you, really asks you, how are you? Doesn't that energy come back? Be in nature. From inspiration to application, your application yesterday was to take a Rajasic facet of your lifestyle, and to fast from that. To offer this to your Raja. How many of you have started? Good. This is how you celebrate Navaratri. Internally. I'm reminded of Devi Shabari. She was eating a fruit and giving this to Bhagwan Rama. Typically, we would describe that as being tainted. So one way to understand this is she was even giving up this notion of being tainted to Bhagwan Rama, and he accepted that. You give your rajas, you give your vice, he will accept that. Please don't misinterpret Devi Shabari. She had no ego. So anything that came from her was not tainted. If you do it, it's tainted. If she does it, it's not tainted. Your application for this morning is be steady with what you're fasting from. Be steady with what you're offering. Shanti, 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 be joy.